What's a hack in your industry that customers aren't supposed to find out? Before we start with the first story, please hit subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Story 1. This was 6 to 7 years ago, so may not be relevant, but when I worked at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, the higher-ups were so tunnel visioned on positive customer reviews that if there was any problem at all, we would write off anything, from gas to whole days of rentals. We had a few repeat customers that would catch on and habitually complain about dumb to get parts of the bill discounted. Only a rating of completely satisfied counted, and it was tied to bonus and promotion, so a huge incentive to make people happy. Story 2. Worked at the Orlando International Airport, Iraq. We did about 3,000 car returns a day during peak season. It was such a profitable location that we gave away so much. People leaving in sports cars if they have a mid-size. Some guy returned a car and said, "Hey, I got a warning light to add wiper fluid," so I went and spent a few bucks and topped it off. My manager gave him $150 off his rental for the inconvenience. He wasn't even mad about having to top off the fluid, he was just letting us know. Another time, we had a family with a full Disney trip booked with young kids late at night. You can tell which families are just kind of barely getting this trip pulled off and aren't really flush with cash. They asked about extending their rental before leaving, and I tried to match their daily rate and ended up setting their weekly rate as the daily rate. They basically got another week free. They were insanely grateful, and my manager didn't bat an eye. I do miss that job. Story 3. When I worked in a hotel as a night porter, the room cost was totally reliant if you were a dick or not. I obviously couldn't just give rooms away, but I could pretty much knock off 50%. One day, a very tired woman came in with her baby, and I couldn't get the payment to go through at all, so I did give it to her for nothing. Just had to make sure she was out before 9 a.m., and I cleaned it myself. Thank you for all the upvotes, awards, and kind words. Story 4. When I worked as a pharmacy tech, I spent a lot of time calling insurance companies and waiting on hold while the world burned around me. One time I got impatient with the voice recognition bot because it kept hearing background noise and made selections impossible, so I started cursing it out. Turns out, if you say the F word a few times in a short span, the bot recognizes you as an angry customer and will switch you to a representative real quick. I did this multiple times to a lot of strange looks from my coworkers until I explained the hack. Quick edit since I'm getting a lot of the same responses. I now know that you can spam 0 or hashtag to get the same results. It's a feature being phased out in places. Shouting representative or operator also works. Story 5. Most industries have retention teams because it costs 10 times more to get a new customer than it costs to keep one you have. So if you call up and complain, threaten to cancel every other time they raise your rates, they'll probably give you the introductory rate. Just be aware you might have to switch. Edit threaten to cancel added. Edit 2. Another thing I'm seeing a lot is people getting shut down with no explanation. People hang up and call back. Just say you got disconnected, you might have better luck with another operator. Yes, they take notes, but some reps are more empowered than others. Also, feel free to escalate. Make sure you know how long you've been a customer and how long you've been up to date on your bill. Story 6. Dog trainer. This is a hack we want people to understand. One reason we can get your dog to do something so fast is because we use a high rate of reinforcement. Example. I'm training your dog to walk on leash without pulling, and we practice in your driveway. I feed the dog 20 tiny pieces of food by my knee as we walk to the end of the driveway. The first time a client tries the exercise, they may use 5. The mechanics of the exercise look easy, but it takes time to get used to. And when people are practicing on their own, they do other things instead of focus on the exercise. They forget how often they need to reinforce the dog for doing the right thing. If they do the exercise for 2 minutes during each walk, with a high rate of reinforcement, or that may be all it takes. And once the dog starts to learn, you can gradually slow down the roar. Story 7. Researcher here. In the US, if any portion of a research paper is federally funded or has federal scientists working on it, it must be publicly available free of charge. Check authorship, and if you see any .gov email addresses, it will be available through a federal website somewhere. There are dozens of potential federal research repositories, so an imperfect but good way to find it is search for it on Google Scholar. Then when you find the title, click on the link below the title that says All X versions. This will list all the places online. Google has found the paper and will also show which ones have a PDF available, which almost always includes the free.gov site. Edit. For context, there are 20-plus federal statistical and research agencies that either conduct research, employ scientists, or provide extramural funding. Some of them are very significant, if not the most significant, sources of research in their individual fields. Some fields that I know have a ton of federal involvement are anything related to health, ecology, conservation, natural resources, earth and atmospheric sciences, and agriculture. But the federal research sphere touches everything. Story 8. Computer engineer here. We ship so many products that have broken features. The product is fused at the factory to disable features that just didn't bake fully before we needed to ship. Every product I ever worked on has a half dozen bugs that we could have fixed if only we had more time and money. Eventually, you have to say, "It's good enough," and ship something to make money. Story 9. Bartender here. If you're at an event with an open bar or something similar, tip $20 cash on your first drink and introduce yourself to your bartender, if it isn't crazy busy. Give them the cash and say some variation on, "Hey X, good to meet you. My name's Mike. I'm going to be drinking your drink order all night. Thanks for taking care of us at this event. Guarantees good service, skipping the line, etc." Story 10. I work for an airline. I manage the development of the system our call center agents use. Please and thank you will unlock magical doors of help when you're on the phone with the agents or are at the airport dealing with airport staff. Simple politeness no longer seems to exist. I've shadowed agents to understand how they use what my teams develop, and I can count on two hands in the 150 to 200 calls I've listened into over the last year, where the caller was polite and acted decently towards the other, human, on the other end of the line. Story 11. Former local journalist here. If you want to know something about your town, or pretty much anything locally, or find something hinky that you want investigated, just call or email them and ask, "What's happening with that insert weird item in city budget? Shut down rogue cop who got fired," when I was off deadline. I actually loved fielding these questions. They were mainly from old people, and pretty much worked as customer service for the city a lot. I directed people to local programs that would help them. I confirmed the start and proposed end dates of construction, and I told people what companies had pulled permits to build that new restaurant on Main Street. Local journalists have a wealth of knowledge in all departments of what is going on in your city, because they drift between one or the other frequently, and we ask the other reporters in the cubicle next to us too. They're your tour guides, social workers, watchdogs, and public defenders if you just ask them. They aren't doing it for the money, cries, and past due bills. They're doing it for the love of their community. They all really embrace the localism aesthetic. I guess this is sort of a not supposed to find out thing, because if everyone did it, they'd never get their other work done. Story 12. We cannot post a lower price anywhere, because if it's discovered that we do, we will be removed from the platforms. Tour companies like mine will jump to give you a 10 to 15% discount if you call us and mention you are looking to book via Viator, TripAdvisor, or Expedia. You save 10%, we recoup the potential 10 to 15% that those sites would have taken, and everybody wins. Story 13. If you know you're shipping something within a few hours drive of you, always pay for the cheaper shipping option. The premium shipping option is just a markup if you know you're sending something close by. It will arrive the same day regardless. I work at the post office. This is mostly true, but only if you have your own box packing material. Let's say you're sending something in state, but don't have a box to send it. The lowest rate for a medium weight package could be $10 if you send it ground, and it will be there in 2 days. However, you will need a box to ship it in, and the box can cost you $3 minus $4, so the total will be $13, maybe $14. If you send an in-state package priority flat rate in this situation, you'll pay $18, regardless of how far it's going, and it will also take 2 days. So that's a no. However, we have priority variable rate boxes that are based on weight and distance, and this could cost you $12. And because it's priority, the boxes are free, meaning you actually save money sending it priority. If you have a post office that isn't crazy busy, the best way to ship unboxed items is to bring your stuff to the counter, give them a zip code, and let them weigh it out. The weight, distance, and packing materials needed will determine the least expensive way to ship. There are many situations where going non-flat rate priority is cheaper than ground because you get free boxes and packing. Tape. Edit. As many people have noted, you will know if your post office is crazy busy, has bad staff, or if it just plain sucks. This happens. My advice works in good post offices. I swear good post offices exist and we want to help you with your packages. Story 14. In medicine, if you tell your primary that your previous PCP ordered a test, gave you a medication, placed a referral, etc., and that you need to have it re-prescribed, ordered again, you can get your primary to order or at least consider ordering near anything, at least if it's not a controlled substance or an expensive, unusual diagnostic study. The problem is that offices absolutely suck at transferring their records to each other, and confirming that story takes a huge amount of time. For example, if you have knee pain and tell me that your primary diagnosed you with a specific knee issue years back and that you went to PT and it felt better last time, and I'm sitting in your chart not able to find any record of that, will I spend 10+ minutes of time trying to hunt down previous records to confirm this history? Obtain reports from physical therapy about the specific exercises you were doing and any imaging studies you had and whatever else? Will I have you come in for what, as far as I can tell, is an appointment to reassess a known diagnosis that someone else already appropriately diagnosed and treated? Or will I click a button that takes 5 seconds to get you the appointment with PT that you want that solved your issue last time, completely unaware that the history I was given was completely fabricated? The reality for something benign like a visit to PT is that there's just not enough time to do anything besides send that order and move on. Story 15. Don't buy the first or last year of a car. First year, they're still working out the bugs in the manufacturing process, and the last year they're focused on getting the new model processes working and less attention on the outgoing model. The very best year is the mid-cycle refresh. Processes should be stable by then, and the refreshed exterior are such minor tweaks from a manufacturing perspective, it's not affecting quality, and as a perk, it usually looks better than the original. Former automotive body process engineer. Edit. I'm getting asked a lot as to why the last year would be bad. Yes, the large problems have been worked out, but in manufacturing there will always be variability that is monitored and either adjusted where the part is made. The parts themselves or the assembly jig to keep things within. Imagine you have playing cards and you have 3 buddies with hole punches making a hole in the same spot in each card individually with different suppliers and equipment, and you have a time limit on how long it takes to make their punch. Over time, I'll guarantee even with a jig they will start to vary. Punch gets worn out. Your card vendor this week sent cardstock that's slightly thicker than the other's. Humidity at friend 3's location caused the cards to swell. In a model change year, the folks that monitor and adjust for variability have tasks for the new model that takes their full attention away from the current model and splits it up. They're still the same highly qualified people as they were yesterday, but they're being pulled in more directions now. Where I worked, we had one ultra-accurate scanner to measure the entire body to find variability. Guess who got priority on the table? I've got 3 portable units to measure smaller parts out on the floor. One's at a vendor location tracking down a supplier problem. The other is figuring out why an 8A pillar inner panel in the new model is twisted, and I get the one to figure out why the tranny dog leg on the outer panel doesn't align well with the striker plate. Anyhow, that's why the last year should be avoided in most cases. These are all generalizations that always have an exception or 3. Alright folks, that's a wrap. If you like this, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your thoughts in the comment below.